Hey, what's up and welcome back to the multiverse of 100 plus data science project series. In this video, we're going to building one project based on multi-AI agent. We are going to building one system or agent which will help you while you are traveling. This is nothing but an travel planner applications. Before building the application, you need to know one more thing about what is the single AI agent and what is the multi-AI agent. Single agent is nothing but taking one task and process the task, and after that it will give the solutions. So what is the multi-AI agents? Multi means multiple number of AI. I mean collection of the artificial intelligence that work together and solve the problem together. It having one supervisor agent, and inside the supervisor agent it has a multiple number of agent. Let's say this agent is work on finding the city. This agent is working on finding the places of the interest. This agent is give you the timetable. That's mean particular agent doing the particular work. Let's say this agent doing the Wikipedia search. Let's say this agent is doing the internet search or the website search, like that. That's mean multi AI agent is nothing but the multiple types of artificial and intelligence to solve the problems. Then it will give the solutions. Now, what is the key component of our travel planner applications? That's the key components of our travel planner application. If you see this graph, this has nothing but on a start node, and after that we have the input city, input interest, and the create itinerary. This is nothing but the three types of tasks. That's mean this task is taken by the one AI, this task is taken by the another AI, then the third AI is taken by this task. That's mean we need to using here the multi AI agent concept. Then after that we have one AND node, but in here we have the four state. One is called the state graph, the core of our applications defining the flow of our travel planner, the applications that you're going to creating there. In that we have the state graph, and now inside the state graph we having one planner state that you're going to planning that. A custom type represents the state of our planning process. Our planning process is nothing but three types. One is the input city, input interest, and the create itinerary, I mean the timetable. Then we have the node functions that we discuss on that. There's the three functions individual step in our planning process. Then we have the LLM integrations, nothing but large language model integrations. So for this case, you're using the Llama model. You can also using the Chat GPT, I mean Open AI, right? So for this case, you're going to using here the Chat Grok, I mean the Grok Cloud API. And also, to building this full application, you're going to using here the LangGraph, because using LangGraph, you can building the multi-AI agent application. This is the official documentation of the LangGraph. This is the website for that. You can go down, you can see about that introduction to the LangGraph. And after that, you can see here the graph. It's not a start node and the end node, it having some multiple types of assistant or the multi-AI agents. And if I go down, you can see design for the human agent collaborations. So in this case, we're going to using here this LangGraph to creating here our multi-AI agent applications for the traveler. Even though I'm a traveler, I visit so many places in India as well. So now let's start the tutorial right now and go on the Google Colab. Well, so now it's time to creating here our agents, our multi-AI agents for the travel itinerary planner. Now I'm going to click here to text, and I'm going to pass to the key component that we discussed earlier. So the first one is called the state graph, the core of our applications, defining the flow of our travel planner. And then you have the planner state, we're creating here on a state of the planner, which one is nothing but the custom type representing that our state of our planning process. Then we have the node functions. We have just three functions. One is called the input city, it's taking for the users. Then have the input interest, and then the create itinerary, I mean the timetable. Then you have the large language model integrations. So for this case, you're going to be using the chat grok. Now I am simply going to import here some of the important library. But before that, I'll talk to install those library. That's called the LangChain and the LangGraph. So I'm going to use here the pip command. Let's say pip install. Then we're going to using here, let's say LangChain. Then I'm going to using here the LangChain core. Then I have the lang chain underscore core. Yeah, we already import the core. I'm going to use here the grok, because we're going to using the grok cloud API. Then you have the lang chain underscore community. Then what we have, we need to install the LangChain as well. Now shift enter, and it will installing this library in our the Google Colab. Okay. Now what I can do, I am simply going to install another library that's called a LangGraph. So I'm going to install it. That's called LangGraph, because using this LangGraph we can build the multi-AI agents. You know what is the multi-AI agents? Multi-AI agents is nothing but the collection of artificial intelligence agents that's work to solve the real-world problems. So because this is the multi-AI types of tasks, because we have to process the city, we have to process the input interest as well as the itinerary, I mean the timetable. Now what I can do, I am simply going to import here some of the important library which one is required to actually creating these applications. Now I'm going to first importing here the OS because OS is needed for actually loading the document from the directory. If it is needed or not, let's import it. Then I'm going to importing here the type dict because you need to also creating here the planar state. That's mean this planar state. So that's why I'm going to import it the type dict from the typing. So let's say from typing, I'm going to importing here the type. Okay, it should be the capital. So typed dict, I mean type dictionary. Then we have the annotate. Okay, annotate. And if you do these projects in your local machine, so make sure you use the Python 3.9 up. Python 3.9 up should be required in order to creating these projects in the local machine, because I don't have the GPU, even though having a problem in the Python version. That's why I'm using this Google Colab, because everyone has access in the Google Colab. So that's why I decided to create the application on that. Now, after that, I'm going to importing the state graph, because you need to create in the state graph as well. That you can see state graph. So it also import it from the LangGraph. So let's say from LangGraph dot graph, I'm going to import here the state graph, state graph, state graph. Then I have the end that you see in the key components. Okay, we have the start node, then you have the sum of the planner, then you have the end. Okay, and node, just like the flowchart. Then from lang chain, okay, lang chain underscore core dot message, and I'm going to importing here the human message. Let's say human message, and then I'm going to importing here the AI message. That's AI message. So human message is nothing but our human input, and AI message is nothing but the generated input images. Or sorry, generated actually image generated answer for the by AI. Now from LangChain, LangChain underscore core. Okay, it should be underscore core dot prompts. Prompts, and I'm going to importing here the chat prompts, because you have to give the chat prompts template as well, so that our LLMs can understand our prompt and try to creating the based on the travel city and the interest, it will give the itinerary, right? Now I'm going to importing here one more thing that's called LangChain, and then I'm going to using here core dot runnable dot graph. Okay, graph. I'm going to import here this Mary. Okay, sorry, mermaid draw method, that I'm also importing here IPython. IPython. Okay, P should be capital. P should be capital on here. IPython Python dot display. I'm going to importing here the display and the image. So let's say display and the image. Fine. Now I can shift enter. So यहाँ पर क्या क्या हमने यूज किया, we import here the typing, and from typing input here the type dict को input किया, इसके बाद annotate and the list को input किया, क्योंकि हमको planar state जो है ना उसको create करना है. तो planar state में क्या क्या होगा, कुछ नोट फंक्शन होगा जहाँ पर आपको सिटी, तब इसके बाद आपको इंटरेस्ट कहाँ जाना है, आपको इसके बाद इटरेटी, आपका टाइम टेबल आपको देना पड़ेगा. तो इसलिए आपको स्टेट ग्राफ और एंड है उसको आपको इंपुट करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि लैंग ग्राफ जो आप क्रिएट करेंगे, इस लैंग ग्राफ इज नथिंग बट वन वर्क फ्लो, और यू कैन से द फ्लो चार्ट. तो फ्लो चार्ट में क्या होता है, स्टार्ट होता है, इसका बड़ा एंड नोट होता है ना. तो इन द मिडल यू हैव द ग्राफ्स. देन इसके बाद हमने ह्यूमन मैसेज और एआई मैसेज को इंपुट किया है, क्योंकि जो एजेंट है वो काम कैसे करेगा, मल्टीपल एजेंट है ना, तो बहुत सारे काम इसको डिवाइड कर लेगा. जस्ट लाइक कोई काम करेगा सिटी के ऊपर, कोई काम करेगा इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर, कोई काम करेगा टेबल के ऊपर. इसके बाद कंबाइन करके एलएलएम हमको इनपुट का रिजल्ट देगा. इसके बाद चैट मैसेज जो है ना, चैट मैसेज नहीं, चैट प्रॉम्प्ट टेम्पलेट होगा या चैट प्रॉम्प्ट टेम्पलेट. तो चैट प्रॉम्प्ट टेम्पलेट क्या करेगा, चैट प्रॉम्प्ट टेम्पलेट एक्चुअली जो प्रॉम्प्ट है ना उसको लेगा, यूजर से लेगा किस तरह का हमको काम करना है ट्रैवल प्लानर में, तो प्रॉम्प्ट लेगा जस्ट लाइक द चैट जीपीटी लेता है. इसके बाद हमने लैंग चेन कोड से एक ग्राफ को इंपुट किया है, क्योंकि हमको भी एक ग्राफ भी क्रिएट करना है जो आप स्लाइड में देखा है, जो आप डिस्कस किया है ना की कंपोनेंट में उसमें। इसके बाद हमने डिस्प्ले और इमेज को भी इंपोर्ट किया है क्योंकि हमको वो डिस्प्ले भी करना है बस। नाउ वी सिंपली गोइंग टू डिफाइन आवर एजेंट फर्स्ट। सो लेट्स डिफाइन द एजेंट। सो क्या करते हैं, बेटर टेकिंग ऑन टेक्स्ट। सो डिफाइन डिफाइन एजेंट। थोड़ा स्लोली चल रहा हूँ मैं क्योंकि बहुत ठंडा है भाई, खाद में हम काम नहीं कर रहा है। सो अब क्या हम क्या करेंगे, हमको प्लेन स्टेट जो है ना उसको क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा। नॉट क्रिएटिंग है द प्लेन स्टेट। सो वी कैन कॉपी दिस आउट, दिस प्लेन स्टेट एज वेल। ओके, कॉपी नहीं करना पड़ेगा, बस टाइप कर लेंगे, कोई बात नहीं। सो लेट्स गेट द क्लास कॉल द प्लेनर स्टेट। लेट्स से प्लेनर चला आया प्लेनर स्टेट एंड इट विल टेकिंग द टाइप dict that we actually imported. Now this type dict is combinations of one message from the humans as well as the AI message. So let's say messages is nothing but combinations of the human messages and the AI images. That's mean creating the chain with the human messages and the AI messages. This is nothing but conversations between the human and the AI. Now we need to pass it inside the annotated that we imported, and inside that, because it's nothing but some kind of prompt, it's obviously one list, and inside this list I'm going to pass in here the first human message. With the human message, create a chain for the human message and the AI messages. It should be the AI message. Just creating a chain for that. Now we need to give it here one message that's going to call the message is in the conversation, okay. Now starting creating our messages. Now what I can do, we simply going to creating here the city. Okay, it should be the dot colon, sorry. And now we need to adding here our planner, and in our planner we have the city, we have the interest as well as the itinerary. So we have the city is nothing but one string, it's taken by the users. And then we need to, okay, we can use here the comma on here, we don't need to use here the comma, okay, because it's an state we created here. And then we have the interest. Let's say interests, and interest is nothing but the list of string. Why it should be multiple number of interest. Let's say I'm going to go in the Uttarakhand, I need to visit the Kedarnath, I need to visit the Badrinath, I need to visit the Tunganath. So it's multiple number of interest, so that's why I need to put it inside a list. Now after that we have the itinerary. Let's say itinerary, and inside itinerary it should be an string. So that's our planar state. So in our planar state क्या क्या है यहाँ पर, देखो planar state जो है ना वो just a simple class है जो type root के enumerate करता है। उसके बाद उसको का अंदर एक मैसेज होगा जो हमारा ह्यूमन मैसेज और एआई मैसेज में थोड़ा कन्वर्सेशन करेगा। तो उसको हमने एनोटेट के पास लिस्ट के तरीके से एक पास कर दिया। उसके बाद हमारा स्टेट में क्या क्या होगा, सिटी होगा क्योंकि हमको सिटी भी इंपुट करना होगा। इसके बाद इंटरेस्ट भी देना पड़ेगा एट कोमा सेपरेटेड बिलो बिकॉज दिस इज अ लिस्ट। तो हमको मल्टीपल नंबर ऑफ इंटरेस्ट हो सकते हो। अब मनाली जाओ तो चंद्रताल तो जाना पड़ेगा ना बस। तो आप पुणे जाओ तो अष्टविनायक के दर्शन करना पड़ेगा ना। अब पुणे का खाना पीना तो सबको आपको टेस्ट करना भी पड़ेगा ना बस। तो इसलिए इंटरेस्ट बहुत ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं। लेट्स से यू गो इन द नासिक, you can visit the Trimbakeshwar, you can visit the Brahmagiri Parbat, okay, you can visit the Anjani Hills, okay, you can visit any kind of them. तो इंटरेस्ट बहुत ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं। इसके बाद इटनरी जो है ना, इटनरी इसका मतलब टाइम टेबल। अब टाइम टेबल भी इसको बोल सकते हो, प्लानर का टाइम टेबल कैसे हो सकता है। So yes, that's about the planar state. Now we define here our planar state. Now we need to creating here our node functions. So we have the three functions that's called input city, then input interest, and the create itinerary. Okay. Now we need to defining here our node functions. But before that, you need to also set up the language model as well as the prompts. So for this case, we're going to using here the chat grok. I mean, the grok cloud. So for that, you're using the API from the Grok Cloud. Well, so that's our Grok Cloud space. I just create an account on that. That's a personal account. And then you can see it having one playground. You can select the model from here. And if I go on the documentations, you can see it having several model are available by Meta, by Google, or by Hugging Face. We're going to using here this Llama 3.317b versatile. And if I go on the API keys, and I just need to create here API key, just need to giving here one display name for that, and you can copy the API name from here. I mean API key from here. Just I'm simply going to using this API key to access the chat grok. Now let's import here the lang chain underscore grok, and I'm going to importing here the chat grok. Let's say chat grok is the easiest way to actually using the llama model or the any large language model and use the grok cloud. Now let's say lm is equal to, let's say, chat grok, and inside there you have to passing here the temperature. Okay, temperature, let's using here the 0. Then I'm going to using here the grok API key. Let's say grok API key. It should be underscore API underscore key. Then I have to give it the API key on here. So don't use this one because I already delete this out. Every time I need to actually, while creating the applications or while creating the videos, I need to creating here again and again. Okay, no problem. So let's creating here. Let's give it a llama 3.3. Then okay, llama a देना पड़ेगा पर llama 3.3. Then using here 17b versatile. Okay, versatile. Now that's our model is ready. Now we can invoke our LLMs for checking this one. Let's say invoke, and then let's say what is LLM? Okay, let's say what is multi-AI agent. It's a multi-AI agent, and this is our response. So let's say result like that, and then you can use in this result. So let's say result dot content. Now we can see our content. So it will accessing this API key. Now you can see here multi-AI agent system is a system composed of multiple artificial intelligence agents that interact with each other and their environment to achieve common or individual goal. Well, our LLMs working very fine. Now let's try to give it here uh, our chat prompt template. So let's try to creating the chat prompt template. So what you can do, I'm going to using here chat prompt template. Okay, and then I'm going to using here from messages, and inside that I'm going to passing here one prompt for the system and the human. Let's pass it here. The system, at you are a helpful travel assistant, create a draft itinerary for city based on the user interest. Two things: provide a brief bulleted itinerary. That's mean in the form of bulleted itinerary. Then the human, create a itinerary for my day trip. Now this is my itinerary prompt. So let's say itinerary underscore prompt. So that's our prompt. Now our chat prompt is also ready and our model is also ready. Now let's define our agent functions. If I go up, you can see we need to we need to creating here the node functions. That's mean our agent functions. So we have three functions: input city, input interest, and the create itinerary. So now we're simply going to creating here one text. Let's say give the text, and this is nothing but called define agent. Let's say agent function. Okay, now we have the three function. One is called input city, and which one taking one state, and a state is nothing but our planner state, and which one is accessing our planner state. Okay, let's say planner state. Now inside this planner state, we need to print one statement. Let's call please enter the city you want to visit for your day trip. Okay, so we need to give one text, and we need to take in the input from the user. So that's called be the user message, and then you need to input is the input, and then you can, let's say, EU input. That's it. Now to returning here one state of functions in a from a dictionary. So it is nothing but the state. Then to add here the city. So city is nothing but our user message that is given by the users. That's our city, and to give it inside one text, and then you have to give it here one more thing that's called the messages. Let's say messages, because if I go up, you can see here how I'm creating the planner state. we're to passing here on messages, which one is nothing but a combination of the human messages and the AI messages. It's nothing but the conversations. Now inside this messages, we're to passing this messages from the state, because this message is stored inside our state, that's called the messages. And then after that you need to add it to our human messages, that's a human messages, that's a human messages. And inside the content you need to pass in here the user message, because this is the user input, that's called user input. Okay, fine. Now we define here our input city. Now we're defining here another one, that's called the input interest, that's called the input interest. So let's creating this out. Let's say input interest, it also inherit this state, that's called input interest. Then you need to give it here one print statement, let's say print enter your interest, let's say print enter your interest, interest for the trip to. Then now I need to using here one f string, let's use the f string on here. Now I need to using her the city, let's say I just gave her the city name called Uttarakhand. That's we need to access it from the state, because this value is stored inside the state. The state is holding our values. Now we can access it from here, let's say state of the city, let's say of the city. Now we can access this one. Now to give it, let's say one comment, let's say comma separate, because uh, user don't know that how to give the input. Okay, so this interest should be multiple number of, because we already initialize this one interest in the from of list. Now what I can do, you need to changing the city to be interest. Okay, that's interest. Okay, because this is nothing but one list, as well as it is comma separated, you need to using here the for loop to iterate to all the interest from here. Let's say interest in user message, because this message is coming from the user messages dot split by comma. Now it is split in this one by comma, and then you to split it based on the interest. Let's try to strip it. Okay, if I using the strip, it will taking all of the values from here. Let's say I gave it here Kedarnath, comma Badrinath, comma Tunganath. It will pass in this interest in just one by one. That's when first it will pass the Kedarnath, first it is pass the Badrinath, the first, then it will pass the data called the Tunganath. Now that's our interest, and now our messages. And it is the same thing for the input interest. This is nothing but a human input. Now, based on these two things, that's called the input city and the input interest, our AI, our multi AI agents can give the response. Now we can copy this out as well, and then after that I'm going to pass it here. Now instead of this input interest, you need to give it here a method name called the create itinerary. Okay, that's called the create itinerary. If I go up, it's called just itinerary, no problem on that. I just give it the give the actually functions name on here. Now we need to changing this one, changing actually the printing statement as well. Now it will create in the itinerary, okay, based on the city and the based on the interest. Now we can give it here one thing that's called creating an itinerary, okay, for let's say state of city, a state of city with based on, let's say based on interest. Now our interest is stored it inside a list. Now what I need to do, if I wanted to show this out, I need to join with uh, based on the comma, let's say join, and then inside that I can pass in here my interest, let's say state, and then inside that I can pass in here my interest, let's interest. Okay, interest, it should be interest or interest, which one is it? It should be interest. And if I see on the interest, okay, plural number, because this is obviously plural number. Now inside that, what I need to do, I need to give it here one comma, and intermediate expression they have a string missing close bracket. Okay, close bracket is missing, it's a uh, join, okay, state. Then we need to give it here another one, I hope so. No, so let's check this again. Let's have a string creating an alternative for the state, and our city is gone inside that. Then based on interest, then I need to using here this join method, Okay, I need to using here the single state, that's why. Okay, now it's fine. Now what I need to do, I need to also using the LLM to actually invoke the response. So I can using the LLM that actually created, because this is created by the AI. Okay, now I can using the LLMs to invoke it. Let's say LLM dot invoke, and inside that I can passing here our itinerary uh, itinerary prompt, and that you can using the format message. Let's say format messages, and inside that you can passing here our city, and our city is nothing but is coming from the state of city. See, this two function is nothing but given by the users, I mean the human messages, and this is nothing but by this is nothing but actually generated by the AI. So that's we need to passing here our cities, as well as we need to passing here our interest. So let's say our interests. Okay, our interest is nothing but same thing in the form of comma. Then we can simply go into join it. Let's say join, and inside that you can pass it this based on the state and the interest. Let's say state, and then let's say interest. Okay, interest. That's it. That's it. Now we're getting here our LLM response. Now let's define into inside a variable called response. Okay, response. Now we're simply going to print it out. Let's start to printing this out. Let's start printing it out. Let's say print. Uh, okay, let's printing here one more thing. Let's call final. Let's say itinerary. मैं थोड़ा स्लो जा रहा हूँ क्योंकि बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स टास्क है, थोड़ा गलती हो गया तो बस खत्म. Let's start printing it out. Now response dot content. Now inside that state we need to passing here our messages. Let's say messages, and this is nothing but our message. Yeah, this messages. We can now removing this one, this messages, and in this instead of the human message we can passing here the AI messages, and instead of the content we can passing here our response dot content. Let's say content, and then we have the itinerary. Okay, you have the itinerary. Let's say itinerary, so it should be inside the uh, inside actually bracket or semicolon, whatever you call, response dot content. Okay, that's it. now थोड़ा हिंदी में आपको एक्चुअली बोलना तो पड़ेगा ना, बट देखो we define the agent functions. If I go up you can see here we have the node functions. तो हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा, 3 functions create करना पड़ेगा जो स्टेट को मैनेज कर सकता है, हमका प्लानिंग का प्रोसेस मैनेज कर सकते हैं, उसको बोलते हैं एजेंट फंक्शंस. तो हमने 2 फंक्शन क्रिएट किया है ह्यूमन के लिए. वन है इनपुट सिटी और अनदर वन इज नथिंग बट कॉल्ड इनपुट इंटरेस्ट. तो यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ पर यूजर से इनपुट ले रहा है. तो आप यूजर से इनपुट ले रहे हैं भाई, आपको कौन सी सिटी में आपको जाना है. तो मुझे पुणे जाना है, मुझे बम्बई जाना है, मुझे चेन्नई जाना है, मद्रास जाना है, बस यहाँ पर इनपुट आपको देना पड़ेगा. नाउ बेस्ड ऑन दिस इनपुट इट विल टेकिंग अनदर इनपुट फ्रॉम द यूजर्स. तो उसको बोलेगा भाई देखो तुम तो चेन्नई जा रहे हो, तुम तो पुणे जा रहे हो, तो कहाँ कहाँ घूमेंगे तुम. तो उसको इसके बाद वो यहाँ पर बताएगा पुणे में कहाँ पर मुझे दंगलूर शेट जाना है, मुझे कशबा गणपति जाना है, मुझे शिवाजी नगर जाना है, मुझे वकड़ाबाड़ी जाना है, मुझे क्या है ना और क्या क्या है ना पिंपरी नगर जाना है, मुझे PSPCMC जाना है. जस्ट यहाँ पर आप इंटरेस्ट दे दो. बेस्ड ऑन द इंटरेस्ट इट विल गिव यू सम ट्रैवल प्लानर, इट विल गिव यू द ट्रैवल प्लानर. लेट्स से मुझे नासिक जाना है, तो लेट्स से इनपुट सिटी में मैंने नासिक दे दिया. इंटरेस्ट लेट्स से आई एम गोइंग टू गो ऑन द त्र्यंबकेश्वर ज्योतिर्लिंग लॉर्ड महाशिवा. ब्रह्मगिरी पर्वत जाना है मुझे, इसके बाद अंजलि पर्वत जाना है मुझे. यू कैन गिव इट हियर. मुझे चिड़ियाखाना जाना है, गणपति के मंदिर में जाना है, बस खत्म. यू कैन गिव इट टू हियर. देन बेस्ड ऑन दैट क्या करेगा एआई इटिनरी क्रिएट करेगा, टाइम टेबल क्रिएट करेगा भाई, टाइम टेबल क्रिएट करेगा. आप सो इस टाइम से इस टाइम का मतलब आपको कहाँ जाना है बस. तो यहाँ पर हमने लार्ज लैंग्वेज मॉडल का यूज़ किया है बस. इसको स्टेट पे हम मैसेज और इटिनरी को पास कर दिया बस. Now we're creating here our 3 functions. Now what I need to do, I need to create and compile the graph, because I need to create the graph for that, because LangGraph is nothing but creating the graph of the state. तो चलो create करते हैं. Let's say create and compile the graph. Let's say graph. Now it's nothing but a workflow. The graph is nothing but one workflow. So let's creating here a variable called workflow, and then I'm going to using here the state graph. अब समझ आ रहा है कि स्टेट ग्राफ यहाँ पर है ना भाई देखो स्टेट ग्राफ तो यहाँ पर है हम तो की कॉम्पोनेंट फर्स्ट में दे दिया कि स्टेट ग्राफ को अब हमको क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा स्टेट ग्राफ द कोर ऑफ आवर एप्लीकेशंस लेट्स डिफाइन द फ्लो ऑफ आवर ट्रैवल प्लानर okay now let's define our travel planner now let's try to enter it and now let's go down and try to create in the state graph now the state graph is taking the planner state let's say planner state bus. Now what I can do is simply going to creating here the at node and the at edge is nothing but one tree. It's nothing but one tree. If you know more about if you are from the computer science background in the university or the college, you must learn about the DSA, the data structure algorithms, right? So in the DSA, it's just having one topic called the tree. So in the tree you have some node and you have the edge. Okay, so same thing from here because this is a graph. Sorry, graph and tree. In the graphs you have a node and you have an edge, not the tree actually, because tree is just nothing but it can be a binary tree. Okay, so but in the graph you have the node and then you have the edges. Okay, now what I can do is simply going to creating here the workflow. It's a workflow dot add node, because in the graph you need to add the node. If you know about the adjacent matrix, that how can you creating the graph in the form of adjacent matrix. There are so many several types of actually graph algorithms you can follow, just like shortest path algorithms, Dijkstra, Prim's algorithm is based on the graph, just like this graph. Now we created the node for that, and after that we simply going to add in the edge of that. Now inside our node we simply going to adding here our input city. Our input city, it's matlab input city is nothing but our functions. It's nothing but our functions. So that is nothing but our node. That's nothing but our node. Then what I have, if I go on the presentation slide, here you can see here it having a start node, and we have the input city, we have the input interest, and we have the create itinerary, and we have the end node. So this is nothing but the node, and this is nothing but the edges. In the form of graph, you have the node and the edges. You know about in the DSA in the from in the DSA classes. Basics are basic. Now let's add it. Let's workflow dot add node. Then क्या क्या ऐड करना पड़ेगा इसके बाद इनपुट इंटरेस्ट. लेट्स इनपुट इंटरेस्ट. ओके इनपुट इंटरेस्ट आ जा बस खत्म. इसके बाद इसको यहाँ से लेके सीधा इसका अंदर दे दो भाई. Then we need to getting here another workflow for create itinerary. Let's say add node. Then we need to passing here, let's say create underscore itinerary. Okay, let's copy this out and I'm going to pass it here. Now our node is ready. Now we need to add here one entry point. I mean a start node. Start node कहाँ से होगा भाई? Input city से होगा. Input city के अंदर ही जाएगा ना बस. तो क्या करेंगे हमको workflow dot set entry point. We need to add one entry point for our workflow. Now inside that you can passing here our input city. Now we need to adding the edge of that. Now we need to add in the edge from input city to input interest to the create itinerary. Now let's say workflow dot add edges at edge, and inside that into passing here two things. कहाँ से मुझे कहाँ जाना है भाई? फर्स्ट मुझे इनपुट सिटी से जाना है इनपुट इंटरेस्ट पे. चला गया मैं. इसका बाद कहाँ जाना है मुझे? 3 बार देना पड़ेगा. मुझे इनपुट इंटरेस्ट से जाना पड़ेगा क्रिएट इटिनरी पे मुझे जाना पड़ेगा. इसका बाद कहाँ जाना है मुझे? क्रिएट इटिनरी पे मुझे जाना पड़ेगा एंड पे, जो हमने इंपुट कर लिया. बस यहाँ पर देखो भाई हमने ऑलरेडी इंपोर्ट कर लिया एंड. फाइन. नाउ आवर वर्कफ्लो इज रेडी. नाउ नीड टू कंपाइलिंग दिस वन. सो क्या करने हैं हमको? ये हमारा ऐप है. इसके बाद हमने ये किया वर्कफ्लो डॉट कंपाइल. Say we first getting here on a state graph, and inside the state graph we passing here our planet state, and we have 3 planet state node functions. One is called the input city, then input interest, and the create itinerary. So we're simply going to creating here one node. For that, because this is nothing but one graph. In the graph, we have two components. One is node, another one is called edge. If you know about the DSA more, then you can follow the channel as well. And workflow.set entry point, we add here one entry point where our node is starting. That's called a start node. Then the start node is going inside this input city, and input city. Then we need to create in the edge for that. The lines, and then we need to add it from the input city to the input interest. Then input interest to the create itinerary. Then create itinerary to the end. That you see in the presentation slide. Now we need to compile this one. Now what I can do is simply going to display the graph structure. So let's create one text as well so that we can give some comment. Let's say display the graph structure. Now simply going to create in this display. Let's say display, and inside that you can pass in here the image, and inside this image we're simply going to pass in here the app dot get underscore graph, and then we're simply going to draw it. Let's say draw. Then you're going to using here this mermaid png, and then inside that we're passing here our draw method. Let's say draw method, and our draw method is nothing this mermaid. Let's say mermaid, this mermaid draw method. That's it. Now we can invalid draw method, that's called mermaid draw method. We need to also using the API as well. So let's using her dot API. Now we can checking on here. Yeah, that you can see here the same graph that you see the presentation slide. You can see starting graph, started node. Then started node is go inside our input city. That's our node. Then we have the input city. Then we have the input interest. Then we have the create itinerary, and we have the end node. Fine. So that's the display of the graph structure. Now what I can do is simply going to creating here the function which will actually run our graphs. Now let's try to define the functions and taking one text. So we can take one text. There's the last step. That's called define the function that's runs the graph. Oh, that's it. Now what I can do is simply define here the functions. That's a def travel planner. So def the travel planner, and inside that you can pass in here our user request. That's a user underest request, and it should be one string. And then inside that you can printing one statement that's called print. We're simply going to creating here one initial request is coming from the users. So let's say initial request. Let's say request, and that's our initial request. It's coming from the users. Let's say user request is nothing but in the form of format specifier. Using here the f string. Then inside that, passing here the user request is taking from the users user request, and then you can give here a backslash n. After that, we're simply going to create the state that we define in our functions. Now let's say state, and in our state, we're to giving here four things. One is called the messages. It's nothing but the combination of the human messages because the message is driven from the human. Then the city, interest, and the itinerary. Okay, let's say message. It should be inside and string. So it's the messages, and this is nothing but the human message. Let's say human message that we're going to use it here. And after that, inside this content, we're going to pass in here the user message. Let's say user underscore message. Okay, method request. That's it. Now this human message is nothing but inside one list. Because if I go up, you can see just one more thing that it's defined inside one annotated list. So that's why this message should be passing from the human, and this is always as list. Now after that, into passing here one more thing that's called the city. Let's add it here city, and then I'm going to add it here one more thing that's called empty string, because we need to taking it from the users. It's empty. By default is city is empty because it's taking from the human. And after that, we're going to passing here our interest. So that's defining here our state, right? And interest is nothing but on list because it's having multiple number of interest. It can be Kedarnath, it can be the Badrinath, it can be the Tunganath as well, right? Now I need to adding here the itinerary. I hope so my battery is gone. I need to charging it again. Now let's add here the itinerary. So let's add it here. Let's say itinerary, and then I'm going to make it as a null string. Now let's try to running this out, but before that it also output, like this output should be in string format. So for that I'm going to using here for output in, that's app that we created. If I see that, that's our application, that's our app. Now we are going to using here app.stream, and inside that, inside the stream I need to passing here the state that you actually created. Okay, so inside the stream that I'm going to passing here the state that you created, then simply going to make it pass. It will automatically handle the node themselves and printing all of them. Now I'm going to shift enter. Now it will execute it. Now we can give some command, I mean give some input uh, for the testing purposes. So let's say this is nothing but my user request. So let's say user request is nothing but, okay, user underscore request. That's nothing but about travel planner. So let's say travel underscore planner, and inside that I can give it here my request, right? My user request. So my user request is nothing but one kind of string. So we can take it like that. So let's say I want to plan plan a day trip. Let's say plan a day trip. Then inside this travel planner I can pass in here the user request. Let's say user underscore request. That's it. Okay, now I can use the shift enter. So you can see here I want to plan a day trip. Please enter the city you want to visit for your day trip. So let's say Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand. Recently I visit the Kedarnath temple and the Badrinath as well. And then please enter your interest for the trip to Uttarakhand, comma separate. Let's say give it here Kedarnath. Let's say Kedarnath, then Badrinath, and then let's say Tungnath. That's the highest Shiva temple. So creating the itinerary for the Uttarakhand based on interest, Kedarnath, Badrinath, and the Tungnath. Cool. You can see here, final itinerary is nothing but here is a brief. Bulleted itinerary for the day trip to Uttarakhand based on interest in Kedarnath, Badrinath, and the Tungnath. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. start the day with a visit to Tunganath, the highest Shiva temple in the world, and explore the surrounding secondary trails, Chopta. Then dive into Gupta Kashi and have the breakfast, then process to Gaurikund. Cool. And starting the point for the Kedarnath trek. And for the 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., take a helicopter or pony ride to Kedarnath and visit the Kedarnath temple, one of the 12th Jyotirlingas. If you go in the Tunganath first, then you can take the helipad in the Chopta. Okay, it's nothing but the mini Switzerland. Then 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. dive to Badrinath, a great town and home to the Badrinath temple. Decided to Lord Vishnu. Then 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. explore the Badrinath town, visit the temple, and take in the stunning views of surrounding Himalayas. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, this is how you can do the planning for visiting the Kedarnath, Badrinath, and Tungnath. But this is nothing but shortcut way. If you have the much more amount of money, you can buy one helicopter. Now let's try to add it, run it another time. Okay, and give it here another one. Let's say Nasik. Then your input, let's say Triambakeshan. Uh, okay, Triambakeshan. Then we have the Brahmagiri. It's a Brahm. There's a BRA. It's a Brahmagiri mountain. Say mountain, and then creating the dictionary for item for the Nasik based on interest. Triambakeshwar and the Brahmagiri mountain. And 8 p.m. start the day with visit to Triambakeshwar. Okay, the yeah spelling is incorrect. You can see. मैं खुद से दिया हुआ ऐसा actually. Then I started to visit the Triambakeshwar temples. Then one of the 12 Jyotirlingas in India. Then explore the temple complex and take a stroll around the nearby area. Then head to Brahmagiri mountain, the source of Godavari river. It's nothing but the source of the Mata Ganga, where the Gautam Muni and Ahalyabai is actually keep the Ganga here. Take a break for lunch at local restaurant near the mountain. Trek to the top of the Brahmagiri mountain and enjoy the breathing views of the surrounding landscape and visit the Gadwar temple and visit nearby attractions. and of the day with this scenario sunset view of the mountain. Yes, it's really awesome. The Brahmagiri mountain and the Trimbakeshwar temple. The uh, um, temple is dedicated to the Lord Mahashiva. Now what I can do, I'm simply going to use here the radio library. So let's say pip install let's say radio, because we're going to creating here the applications, right? If you're using here the local machine, you can using the Flux or the Streamlit, to building this one. But I don't have the much more amount of GPU as well, and my system is not able to running these applications as well. So that's why I decided to code this out in the Google Colab. And now get it is installed. Now I'm going to pasting here on code that I copied earlier. So that's the code. It's the same thing, just to actually see on here, just have LLMs. And I also add here the comment down here. All the same thing, just importing here all of the important library and as well as importing the Gradio. So in that, just all of the things are actually same as it is. Just having some changes on here in the interface. And in the interface, you can see here you're creating here the interface, and as well as you add here some theme. You can add this theme in the Hugging Face, and you can copy from here. And then we're creating here the actually a method that's called travel planner, just having some in extra feature called like input city and the input interest and the create itinerary, and just reply response this itinerary here. Just these three lines of code I just added to here. And after that, we have two text box. One is nothing but the enter the city for your day trip and the enter your interest in the comma separated. Then we have an output box, and after that we have a title is called tribal itinerary planners. Then enter the city you are interested to generate a personalized day trip the itinerary, just mean the timetables. Now just going to loading this interface. Okay, simple. All of the things are just added here. Now I'm simply going to running this out. Then you can see one cool Gradio applications with this theme. It will installing, it will download this theme from the internet. You can see downloading this one from this one. And after the, you can see themes is downloaded in the form of JSONs. And now we have one public URL. You can actually access this public URL as well as from your mobile phone, because it is nothing but available for 72 hours. So you can see here it's nothing but called travel itinerary planners. Enter the city for your day trip and enter your interest comma separated, and generated the itinerary. Okay. So now let's add here Ayudha. Okay. Uh, Ayudha, DHA, Ayudha. Is it correct or not? Then let's say Ram Janam Bhumi. Let's say Janam Bhumi. Then Hanuman Gari. Gari. That's it. Let's click on submit. And if the actually Ayudha, yes, spelling is incorrect, you need to give it here the Y, Ayudha, and the Ram Janambhumi and the Hanuman Gari. If I click on submit again, then you can see one more thing that is coming up. Here is a brief bulleted internet for the date of the Ayudha. 8 p.m. start the drive visit the Ram Janambhumi, scared so I believe to the birthplace of the Lord Rama. Then 10 a.m. explore the surrounding temples and areas, including the Ram Janambhumi complex. Yeah, take a break for lunch at a local restaurant, trying some traditional Ayudha cuisine. And 2 p.m. visit the Hanuman Gadi, a temple dedicated to Lord Hanuman and devotee followed of Lord Lama. And 4 p.m. end the day with some shopping in the local um market you can do on in here. So let's give it here another name that I visit. That's called Ujjayan. So let's say Ujjayan, and then we can give it here. Let's say Mahakal temple. Okay, let's say temple Mahakaleshwar. Let's say Om Kareshwar. Okay, then we visit here the Harshidi Mata. Let's say, okay, let's make it close right now. Just this two temple, Mahakal temple and Omkareshwar temple. Let's click on submit in the Ujjain Mahakal. Yeah, you can see here as a brief day trip itinerary for the Ujjain based on your interest. Start the day with visit the Mahakal temple, one of the 12 Jyotirlingas in India, and created attend the morning arati, starting with the Bhashma Arati in the 4 p.m. actually happening on here. Then explore the temple complex and learn about its history and the significance. Ujjain Mahakal is nothing but the third of the Jyotirlingas. And take a break for lunch at local restaurant and try some traditions Madhya Pradesh Kasim. Yeah, Madhya Pradesh. and visit the Omkareshwar, another Jyotirlinga located in the island of Narmada River, the Narmada, and take a ferry to the Iceland. Yeah, we also explored this one. Explore the Omkareshwar temple and enjoy the scenic view in the surrounding area. Then return to the Ujjain and end the day. Visit to the Ramgarh. Yeah, Ramgarh is near to that. And Sine point as per the Shipra River. Shipra River I also visit the Shipra River even though वहाँ पर नहाया भी मैं to watch the evening आरती भी वहाँ पर होता है. Then this one. Let's do the last one. Let's call Banaras. Okay, Banaras. Then what do we have? We have, let's say, Kashi, Vishwanath. Then we have the Manikarnika. Then what do you have? We have the Ganga Arti. Let's say Ganga Arti. Let's click on submit right now. Banaras. Okay. Here's the brief blue text on Banaras. 6 p.m. start the day of the sunrise boat ride on the Ganga rivers to witness the self-awaken. Then visit the Kashi Vishwanath temple, one of the most revered Shiva temples in India. Then explore the Manikarnika Ghat, a scared site for the Hindu cremation and unique cultural experiences, where people go for the die. Or take a break and enjoy some local street food and the snacks, just like chole bhature, chaat. Attend the Ganga Arati ceremony at the Dashashamed Ghat. Okay, a spiritual display of the music and the dance and the worship Mata Ganga. And the end of the day, scroll along with the ghats, taking in the sight and surround the city. Yeah, Banaras is nothing but city for the love. Okay, so that's it for today now, and that is creating this travel itinerary planner. Even though I visit so many places in India, even though I visit the Jagannath Puri Dham, then Banaras, Ayodhya, Ujjain Mahakal, then Pune Stabinayak, then Nasik. Okay, let's do the Nasik one. Sorry, Astabinayak one. Let's say Pune. Then let's make it here Astabinayak, and let's see. This is the last one. Astabinayak. Okay, Astabinayak. Let's click on submit and see. And to making Astabinayak yatra or not? Let's see. Just give me the answer or not. Yeah, it's give me the answer. For the Astabinayak dietary for the Pune, here's a brief itinerary. Then 6 p.m. start the Pune and head to Moireshwar temple. That's the Morgaon. That's called Ganpati Bappa Moria, like that. Approximate 1 hour 30 minutes and visit the Moireshwar temple. Is visited to Moria, and then proceed to Siddhitak. That's called approximately 1 hour 30 minutes. That's called Siddhatak temple. And then have a lunch at local restaurant. Then you have the visit the Ujjar temple. Ujjar is nothing but the Siddhi Vinayak, I hope so. Then head back to Pune approximately 2 hours. Okay. Then you can just visit already for Ashtavinayak Yatra, Ashtavinayak Ganpati as well in the Pune. We visit the 8 Ganpati from where shares the Chintamani as well. So that's it for today now, right now. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial and make sure to subscribe to our channels and don't forget to hit our bell icons so that you can get notified when the new videos is coming up. And in the series, we are also going to building here next 4 projects based on the Gen AI. And bye bye.